A house is made of wood and stone, but only love can make a home. Welcome to the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, helping you make your home into one you'll love even more. On News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Well, happy Saturday, everybody. Dan Haley.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Yeah, here we are again. And we've got work for people this week.
Yeah, a whole checklist of things to check in your basement.
Yeah.
And
let's just get straight to that. We've got good stuff coming up. I don't need to say more than that.
No time for chit-chat.
It's good stuff, and some of it's really funny.
Yep.
We're going to talk about some projects and things that you probably should hire an expert for.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain things around the house.
Like Dan.
It's
burned into my brain.
Altina.
Right.
Everybody's used to me doing something dumb.
Now I get to carry the torch.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that, and we've got some other fun stuff. But right now, let's get to this whole spring thaw thing, because we've had some nice weather.
Yeah.
And potentially, what's just around the corner for some of us is going to be water in the basement. You know, we get the snow thawing, introducing a fair amount of water into the ground, and then spring rains will come.
Right.
And all of that adds together to create some issues.
And if you still have snow on the outside of the house, I mean, just shoveling that away from the foundation can be a really easy first step to make sure that doesn't just go directly into the basement.
Right. If you've got a fair amount, that might be worth doing. I would always rake off the roof, and I'd get 3 and 4 foot deep piles there. Just letting that melt was just asking for trouble down the road. So if you've got a fair amount, might want to move that. Another thing outside is to make sure that the downspouts are attached.
Working.
And
not broken.
actually jetting the water away from the house.
Moving it far enough away from the house.
I know with my house, I've bumped a couple of them. Some snow has knocked some other ones off. I've got to go around and make sure they're attached and cleared and actually working. So that's a very easy thing to do. And since the weather it's so balmy and nice outside,
you might as well.
Might as well get out there.
I'm not shoveling, though. I'm not shoveling snow away from the foundation. I'm just telling you right now.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm not doing it.
Well, then you want to make sure that your sump pump is working,
yes,
right?
Right. That's what I'll do.
And that's what we need to talk about, too, is that checklist to make sure that this is maintained and you're not going to have any issues when it does really start raining.
Right, because the sump pumps don't run a lot during the winter.
Right.
And so what happens every year, I'll talk to a number of people where the rain comes in, and that's when they discover that the sump pump wasn't ready. It didn't work. It failed for any number of reasons.
Yeah, it's not when you want to
And that's when the problems happen. So why don't you take some time? It's a great thing. If you've got one, go ahead and make sure it's ready to go. And relatively easy, not a lot going on here. Start by unplugging the pump. You know, that's always a good place to start.
Right.
If you're going to change the saw blade on your table saw, unplug it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. If you don't want to lose a finger, unplug it.
Exactly. So the sump pump won't take your finger.
Hopefully.
If it does, we want to know, because that's another job.
Yeah, right. We'll feature that story.
Yeah. So unplug the pump, disconnect it, and remove it from the sump pit.
Make sure that's clean, too. I mean, the pit needs to be clean itself. You can vacuum it out with a shop vac.
The pit needs to be cleaned. That is exactly what I say to my kid about his roof. That pit needs to be clean, man. But, Dad, it's a pit. Exactly. Clean it. So clean that sump pump pit, too, right?
While you're at it, son.
Yeah. No, lots of stuff can accumulate down there. When I was little, we used to throw toys down there all the time.
Right.
That's not good.
No.
Make sure that that's all out of there. And also, when the sump pump's out, check that intake screen and make sure that that's clean. We had a dryer right by our sump pump, and the dryer lint would end up.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
You know, maybe even socks. And
Right,
stuff.
sure. The stray socks, that's where they go.
My little sweaters that I would wear.
Cute little sweaters.
Yeah, they're little tiny things, like doll size, but they block up the sump pump. Make sure all of that is cleaned off. Also, when you've got it apart like that, make sure you check the check valve.
The check valve can sometimes not close properly, and what you'll notice is when the pump is running, water will flow back through the pump into the sump hole if the check valve's stuck open.
Yeah, so make sure that's cleaned out, ready to go, working. Another thing to consider is the weep hole. Normally there's a lot of weeping.
Sounds depressing.
It does, doesn't it? It just sounds like a normal job for me. But anyway, the weep hole is something that's there to prevent airlock in the pump.
Right.
So think of a submersible pump this way. You've got like an empty cup.
Okay.
And you put it upside down in a bucket of water. You got air in the cup that prevents water from going into the cup.
Okay.
If you drop your submersible pump into the pit with water, that same concept can happen unless you've got these air holes, these relief holes. And a lot of pumps, a number of them will have an air hole pre-drilled right on the pump. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times, even those, they recommend that the installer put an actual 3/16 hole in the discharge pipe. And so when you run it, it will evacuate the air that way, and the whole thing will continue working. If you don't have that, the impeller will spin.
But it won't push any water.
Right, but it can't prime the pump. It can't pull the water in. So make sure that hasn't rusted over, that it's not full of debris, things like that. Another thing is to just check the power cords.
Right,
Pretty
make sure
basic.
they're in good shape. But the GFI outlet even, make sure that it's not flipped, because you had a story that someone thought it was broken, the pump was out, but really it was just it needed to be reset.
Just needed to hit the reset on that GFI outlet.
I've been there.
Double check all of those, put the thing back together, pour water into the pit, make sure it works, make sure that if you've got the float valve or whatever, that it's clear, that it can activate, and then when it discharges the water, that it goes down and shuts the pump off, and you should be good to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a start. Get going. But you can't do that until after we get the rest of the show in. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about projects you shouldn't tackle on your own, maybe. That's all coming up next. Stay tuned.
Helping you turn your house into your dream home. This is the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, presented by Benjamin Moore on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back, and I am excited because, Dan, you are going to talk about some bad experiences that you had working at home.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm excited about that is because it's your bad experience.
Right. We can all laugh about my bad experience.
But you know what? Last week, Saturday, you and I and a bunch of other guys from RepcoLite helped move a coworker of ours and move him to a condo. And so we all show up after the show has aired. And one of our sales reps, I'm waiting to ask him as he's parking his truck, where does he want me to put my truck? So I'm waiting. Finally, he gets done. He's done maneuvering his vehicle. He gets out, he looks at me, and he says, "Man, you are an idiot." And I thought, what the heck? He'd been listening to the show. And he said, "You do everything wrong all the time." And he talked about, the thing was, I am trying to live an open book here so that everybody can learn.
Right.
But I'm not as dumb as I sometimes seem.
Right. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Really? Well, you don't know me well, but you're really hesitant. You're going to reserve judgment. But we all make mistakes, right?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I just tend to air them out for the world to hear.
Right. It becomes a lightning rod, you know.
So, Dan, you're going to air your mistakes.
All right.
But with the goal of helping people, because there are certain projects and certain things that maybe we as people shouldn't do, right? There are things that maybe it's time to hire a professional.
It doesn't have to be all on you all the time. Even if you could, doesn't mean you should.
That's what Rick said. Rick Wieringer, the sales rep, who called me names. When I went to grab furniture and move it, he's telling people, I wouldn't let him touch anything. It's gonna break it.
So now I've got this to look forward to next week. Yeah.
So anyway, what's one of the first things that you mentioned? Let's start with the garage door.
Okay, right.
Talk about that, because my garage door torsion spring, right?
Broke.
That just broke.
And that's what's prompted this story in the first place.
Because I was going to fix it myself.
Right. And I gave you the stink eye when you said you were going to do that.
All I could think about is all the horrible things that is going to happen to Dan when he tries to do this. You are the person it would happen to.
I know, but
it
would have given us good material. But then I heard Dan already had a story.
The material's already there. So it was the same thing. The big coil spring on garage door was broke. And this was at work. And it was a big door, like 12 feet tall or something like that. I can fix this. I know how to fix this. David, send me up on the forklift. I'm standing on a pallet. Yeah, I'm standing on a pallet 15 feet in the air, and I'm unbolting this bracket and getting ready to deal with the spring part.
Now, we should mention that the torsion spring, you're talking about, you had a great big door. So there were two springs to run this door.
Yeah.
One of them was broken.
Right.
And you can see.
Clearly broken.
Clearly broken. There's two pieces to it. What you didn't think about was the second one.
Right, which was not broken.
Yeah. Which was under an incredible amount of pressure, which is the danger of dealing with
a lot of
garage
kinetic
door
energy
springs.
there, that as I unbolted a bracket, the energy was transferred to the bracket and hit me in the back of the hand, and which doesn't sound bad. I broke a few bones in my hand. But the really thing that was scary was I'm 15 feet in the air. I'm standing on a pallet, and the pain was so immediate and so intense that I started to black out.
Oh my gosh!
What a wuss!
I've never had that in my life.
Well, you've got to do more things to cause more pain. You build up a tolerance.
Yeah, right,
That's
right.
the solution here. Yeah.
So, I got to the ground on time. I can't remember the details.
Go the fast way or the slow way?
I took the slow way down, thankfully, right? But afterwards, and I think this is maybe something that will be a common theme here, is that this hindsight is 2020.
Yes.
At that point, I thought, okay, this is a job for a professional.
Well, and that's what I was looking at when I came in. I looked online. I went out, checked out some YouTube videos about my spring. I have a single garage door, very, very small. So one spring, relatively straightforward, But the thing was, you scared me a little bit.
Good.
And there was enough information online that said there's a number of things that could go wrong. Even the videos were very cautious about, hey, do it this way, and there's still no complete guarantees here. And finally, I thought, you know what? I'm going to call and get some prices, because I will decide how much risk I'll take based
on the cost.
The cost was, they quoted me $160 or so.
To fix it.
At that point, there's absolutely no reason to do that myself.
A trip to the emergency room is, close to that.
Right. So it looked like something I could do. I think I could have done it, but I'm really, in the end, kind of glad I didn't.
Yeah.
It's just done, and it's okay to do that.
Worth the risk.
Right. The kids were kind of glad.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad.
Not just
you were
for
glad.
you.
I didn't want to do the radio without me for a little bit, right?
Right. Yeah, I was kind of scared of the, implications of Dan being in the hospital with a big, his arm intraction or something like that. I had visions.
Yeah, with me, I'd get more than just my arm.
I'm taking over the show, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
You're in charge. So, a garage door, that's a great example.
Right.
You've got another one. And this one's really good.
Right. It's the classic example of when you should hire something done instead of doing it yourself. I bought a house. This goes back about 20 years. That had been unoccupied for about 2 years. And I was living in another house. And so while I've got this one, I don't need to be living in this house. It's a great time to go through and renovate it all. Sand the hardwood floors and revarnish them. Paint the walls, do appliance upgrades, all that kind of stuff while there's nobody living there. And as I'd be working at night, I'd hear these sounds coming from two different parts of the house. And so I'd put down the paintbrush or whatever, and I'd go over, where's that sound coming from?
You went towards the sound?
Yes, because I wanted to figure out what it was. What is this?
Ghost.
Go the other
Money's
way.
on ghost.
It's a sound that you've never heard before.
Oh.
A horrible animal sound.
All right,
but
all
you
right.
can't tell what animal this sound is, is making this sound.
Gotcha.
So I eventually honed in on it's coming from the fireplace. And actually, I have two fireplaces in my house, and it's coming from both of them. And they have doors. They have glass doors on them. They're enclosed. So I crack open one of the doors of the fireplace, and there's a raccoon in there.
Oh.
And so what happens is I don't just have a raccoon in my house. I have like a major family of raccoons living in my house.
In each chimney?
In each fireplace,
What did you do? Was it good, or was this a bad outcome?
Well, so I immediately thought, this is not something I can tackle myself.
Good.
Yeah.
I found out afterwards that maybe I could have, but there's a couple of complications. One is my chimneys are very tall. They're probably about 35 feet tall, and I'm not good with heights.
Right.
So the way, so I hired a professional.
Oh, you did? You didn't try this yourself?
No, I went right to the professional. I didn't have a ladder big enough.
You're outnumbered. You can't.
Right, yeah. And you hear about rabies and all, and the sounds that these animals were making, that these raccoons were making, was otherworldly.
It was messing around.
They were possessed or something, or maybe they were having a family argument, or it was horrible, scary. So I hired a pest control company to come and deal with it, and the guy was super nonchalant. He's like, "Well, this is all you have to do. All you do is you soak up a rag with ammonia and you throw it down from the top of the chimney and throw it down into the fireplace, and they'll all leave." Well, so I don't have a big ladder, so I'm not. A big ladder costs $300. I'm not going to do that anyway. And the thought of being on a ladder 35 feet in the air with an ammonia rag and have to quick drop it down there and then get down off the ladder before the raccoons start coming out. I was just not in the mood for that at all. So it was the best, and it was expensive because there's 2 chimneys,
sure,
and each one had 2 flues. And the other thing is I had caps put on. It's like, okay, well, how do I prevent this from happening again?
Right, because I always wonder about these relocation services.
Right, that's not going to work out.
How far are you taking this thing?
Right.
Do you need to spray paint the raccoon, make sure he came back?
Right.
That didn't
I
work.
want a refund.
Right. So these chimney caps, it's like a little roof, but it's also got a screen so things can't get in.
So they took care of it for you.
It was expensive. It was over $1,000, but it was the best $1,000 I ever spent.
I had a raccoon that got into a little window well, like right by our deck, and just started living there. And the kids found it. And of course, so we tried to get it out. So I had a million of ideas. So I rolled some basketballs into that. Because I figured eventually it'll take up the room and he'll just get out. And then we'll cover it up and we'll be good. Well, all it did was land on his little head and made him really mad. So he was making all these horrible sounds. And I ran out of balls. So we didn't have any more to roll into there.
Strangest.
So then I went into the house and I opened up a bedroom window and I could see him. And I thought, okay, I'm going to just get a little broom and nudge him out. And I start nudging him, and the kids are going, "You're getting him, Dad, you're getting him." He starts crawling up the broom straight at me. I threw the broom as far as I could, screamed like a girl, slammed the window, and should have called for help, but I didn't. I managed to limp my way through that. My neighbors enjoy that.
I'm sure it was a great spectator sport.
It's part of the fun of living next door to me. But yes, that is freaky stuff
right.
when you're in over your head.
Right.
And that's really the bottom line of all of these things. It happens with plumbing. It happens with stuff like that where we get into a project and it is something maybe we could do. And it is something that we could pull off if we had the right amount of time maybe or whatever. But every now and then we end up over our head. And then it's too late to back out in a lot of situations. When he's on the end of my broom coming at me, there's no time to just pause things.
Right.
It's go time.
Right. Now, another part of this is, earlier we were talking about plumbing, and another good example is we hired a professional to replace our toilet because I wanted to make sure we were getting a good toilet and getting a recommendation from the plumber on what's a good toilet to get.
Right. Because you can walk in and who knows? What
you
are
don't
you
really
basing
consider
it on?
all the options of toilets out there.
No, it is funny. They'll rate them by like 3 different categories, and one of them is flush. Is there really anything?
Seems like that's the only category.
To me, that's the
comfort.
Well, I don't know, but they would have. This one's a flusher 10. This one's a flusher 6. Really?
Yeah. Is the 10s all sold out and the 6s are all on the shelf?
Why would I ever opt for the 6? I don't understand. I want the toilet to do one main thing.
Right.
And I'd like it to be good at it. But anyway, getting the expert when you need the expert. That's important. And another time that plays out can be with painting. We can do most of these projects ourselves, but sometimes we run out of time, and getting that expert is really going to help you out. Now, we're going to take a break right now, but we're going to be in the studio right after that with Ryan Mullen, the sales manager from RepcoLite, talking about what it looks like right now to hire a contractor. Are they busy? Are they waiting for your work? We're going to talk to Ryan and get all those answers in just a minute. Stay tuned.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Well, Haley, we ended the last segment talking about some projects that maybe it's best to hire somebody for.
Yeah,
right?
you don't have to break your hand.
Right. And we ended by talking about painting, how sometimes that's one of those projects. And we should clarify that no matter what you're tackling project-wise, we can help you get where you want to go. You know, painting cabinets for the first time, painting your entire interior of the home. None of
Right.
that really is beyond...
Yes, you can do it, but I don't think you have to do it.
Well, the big thing is to know yourself.
Yeah.
And to really qualify, am I right for this project right now? You know, and it's okay if you've got all of the skills, but you lack the time, because there's a number of things to consider. You know, do
Right.
you have the skills? Do you have the tools? Do you have the time? You know, those three main things are really
Time
key.
is a big commitment.
And yeah,
Time is money.
Time can really, really mess things up, because we'll get, I don't know how many times I've talked to folks in the store who start a project, they're going to do a whole house repaint
Yeah.
because they've got, you know, time. They envision the project going a certain way, and then a week later, they're starting to get really tense and
Right.
worried because it's not moving as quickly as they thought, and they've
Yeah.
got an end time that it's got to be done.
Well, it's like however long you think it's going to take, just double it.
Right. All of that plays out. So every now and then in certain situations, it's really best to hire a contractor. And sometimes we just don't feel like it.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
feel like
fine, too.
doing that work. You know, the older I get, the less I feel like it. So you want to hire somebody. Well, the thing is, sometimes hiring a contractor, no matter what industry, you can run into long waits that you don't expect.
It takes some planning.
Yeah, it takes some planning. So we've got Ryan Mullen, sales manager from RepcoLite, in the studio with us.
Thank you. Thank you
Listening
for having
to
me.
us chat for 2 minutes now, and he sat there so obediently and quiet. You notice that? When
So
do I get
polite.
to talk? Yeah. Ryan, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
No, so the sales manager from RepcoLite, you've been doing that now for about a year, right?
Yes, yep, almost a year to the day.
Yeah, you started right before the lockdowns last year, right?
Yes, so it was an interesting start. Working from home after that, after about 3 weeks, but it's been good. It's been a good year. It's been a challenging year, but I'm having fun.
Yeah, good deal. And how long have you been in the industry?
This will be my 19th year.
Wow.
So, yeah, you've worked, in a paint
19.
store, but you've also done outside sales?
Yep, I've done outside sales for 9 years. Worked in a paint store before that. So yeah, relatively well versed in the industry.
Sure. So anyway, we thought we'd bring you here and talk about the state of the industry right now when it comes to hiring a contractor. What does it look like out there? Is it wide open because everybody's waiting for work, or is everybody just overloaded already?
There are certain people that are very busy, and there are certain people that could probably use a little bit of work.
Okay, who's busy?
New home construction, the housing market is very good right now. So new
Right.
home construction, flipping, rehabbing houses, whole home remodels, stuff like that is very busy. Commercial construction,
projects, yeah.
yep, is also a very busy one. Now, people that are painting the insides of homes, maybe painting a small project, a small repaint on the inside.
What do you consider small? Are we talking a
Sure.
bedroom, or are we talking a whole upstairs?
Yeah, I would say a whole upstairs is even small, depending on the size of the house, too. Something that a contractor can probably get done in like a week, 4 days, something like that.
Those crews are a little bit slow right now.
And that happens every time this time of year, right? It's cold out. People aren't doing as much. I do think with the whole COVID thing that people were home a lot.
Right.
And they weren't traveling, so they have a little bit more money from that maybe. And they saw projects in their house that needed to be done.
And did them themselves in some instances.
In a lot of
We
cases,
had
yeah.
a lot
But
of
in a
that.
lot of cases too, like you said, that
They
maybe
just
they're
don't feel like it.
Yeah, they don't feel like it, or maybe they're working from home, right? So my wife has been working from home since March. And every day I come home and she has a project in mind.
Okay.
So
So she's got projects for you.
exactly, yeah.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
Those do include painting too.
Yeah. Well, you know what you're doing, right?
Yes, yeah.
You said it's slower right now, and it happens every year. When does it speed up again?
The first sign of warm weather. When it gets sunny out, it starts to get nice out, the snow melts, then contractors are gearing up for exteriors. So if you're going to book an exterior, I would start to think about that right now, today.
Yeah, like immediately.
Yes.
Today.
Yeah.
All right. So mom needs to get her whole condo repainted.
Okay.
Now's the time, right?
Now's the time, yes.
She
And I
should
think
find some names.
yeah, and by reaching out to us, we can give you names of contractors that may be looking for work or to fill a gap in their schedule, right?
Right.
Before it gets warm out.
Right. So now's the time. If you've got a project that you're thinking about, don't wait till the weather turns, because you're
Yes.
going to miss your window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way to reach out and to get these names is, like Ryan mentioned, if you email radio@RepcoLite.com, we can work with you that way. If you call any of the RepcoLite or Port City Paint stores, stop in at any of them, they'll give you some names. We've also got a form on the website.
Right. Go to RepcoLite.com, click on the Find a Contractor tab. There's a little form you can fill out, and we get back to you in less than sometimes 24 hours, right?
Yes, and the standard has been 24 hours, and we're trying to speed that up.
And you get like 3 names usually?
Yep, 2 to 3 names. We feel you should have a choice in the contractor. You should question the contractors. You should get 3 bids for your project, and really have an open line of communication with that contractor and be comfortable with them coming in your home and doing the work.
Right, definitely, because this is someone that you're inviting in. So you've got to have really open communication when you start these projects too. And I think sometimes that falls by the wayside. We think about the project and we're not thinking about,
I think
this
about the
is a
price.
New person I've got to communicate with.
Yeah, I focus on the price.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my Achilles heel.
But that's not really ideally how we would choose these jobs.
No, that's exactly why I end up in trouble so often. Wow, he was the cheapest roofer. Where is he again?
Yeah.
I don't remember. He hasn't been here for a week. No, the price isn't always the big thing. That's certainly something to consider, of course. But yeah, when you get your quote from a contractor, ideally you'd look it over and ask some questions, establish communication, make sure that you work well together. That's basically the bottom line, because they're going to be there for a while.
Definitely.
In certain instances.
If you've already got color preferences and paint preferences, that's something that you can talk about right away. What paint are they usually using on a project? Are they open to your suggestion of what paint to use? Hopefully they are.
Yeah, because that does play out. We did a design event a couple years back, and we created a display for Scuff-X. We wanted to demonstrate how this new paint from Benjamin Moore resists scuffing unlike anything else. So we got a panel that we painted that was Scuff-X in a light yellow color, and then we got some competitive products that were supposed to be exactly like Scuff-X,
right,
and in the same color. And our goal was simply to create a display where we'd show that Scuff-X outperformed them all, which it did. But the incidental finding was that all these other color matches, which were their company matches to this Benjamin Moore color, they were not acceptable matches in certain instances. A couple of them leaned a little green, and it was so apparent that if you had set your decorating based on this one color, you might really be in trouble,
right,
because this little bit of green that these other matches brought in really would have thrown everything off.
Definitely.
So choosing the color is a big deal when it comes to anybody doing any work in their home. But man, to think that the paint that it gets put in could throw that color off, you don't want to go down that road. So talking that over with your contractor and getting the right product is a big deal.
Yeah, and I would set expectations, right? A lot of contractors will give you a good, better, best scenario, and I don't think that's bad to ask for that. And the cost difference is minimal on that kind of stuff in most cases. An expectation for a timeline, how long will they be on the job? That kind of stuff is important.
Yeah, so have all of those conversations. As Haley mentioned, that form on the RepcoLite website, we just take a little bit of information from you, where you're located, what kind of work you need done, and then we reach out to Ryan. You reach out to the sales reps in the stores.
Yes.
And we get some qualified names of contractors who are possibly looking for work right now, and that kind of work.
Definitely.
And that really, really can speed the process up, because when you go to Google or something like that, or you even get a big long list of painter names.
Yeah, it's kind of overwhelming.
Right, and you just start working your way through that list, and you could find people that are way too busy to help you or even return your phone calls sometimes. We try to cut that part of the process out and get you people who are looking for the job. Not just because they're looking for work. Does that mean that they are substandard?
No, not by any means. I think in a lot of cases, especially this time of year, like I said, they're looking to fill a gap in schedule.
Yeah.
COVID had a little bit of a play in that. Jobs got pushed around, rescheduled. So yeah, we try to identify the people that are looking for work, and those are the names that we usually try to provide.
And I think COVID's another one of those conversations too, when you're talking to a contractor or a painter. making sure that whatever your needs are in that arena are going to be met too. I think that's just something you can be open with. They're going to hopefully try to adjust to anything that you would request.
Yes, and I think most contractors are very respectful of that. I would voice your concerns, and once again, it's open communication, your expectations and their expectations. At the end of the day, the person's house that's being painted, the contractor, that's their customer. They want to make that customer happy. They want to do a good job, and they want to get repeat business. And word of mouth travels very far, too.
Right. Yeah.
Right. No, so if you do have concerns about COVID, those things can be addressed.
Yes.
Definitely, if you've got some work coming up, now's the time to at least start getting that process rolling because you don't want to miss your window. Now's the time the window's open. So,
And schedule your exteriors now.
yeah, exteriors, because
Right.
that's going to fill up really fast.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so you can reach out to us. Any RepcoLite or Port City paint store, stop in, give us a call. You can head to RepcoLite.com and check out the Find a Contractor tab on the homepage, fill out that form. We'll get you some names and you can start that process. Ryan, before we let you go, if we've got any professional painters out there listening who maybe don't have a sales rep and they're thinking, wow, you guys are giving out names and stuff like that, I'd like to kind of be a part of some of that. There's a process to get you there. And the first step is to get make contact with a sales rep, right? How do
Yes,
they best
definitely.
do that?
So they can go into a store, and the store will usually give out that contact information. They're welcome to contact me, and I can put them in touch with the right rep. A rep is a free service that we offer, right? So they're out there in the field. They know what's going on in the market. They can look at projects. They can specify what products to use. As a contractor, that almost is not a guarantee, but it definitely, you're using the right product on a project.
Right. There's some added value there for sure.
Definitely. And they can give you leads on jobs too, and pricing even.
All right. So if I'm a professional contractor looking for a rep, I start with you or I walk into any of the stores.
Yes.
I know where the stores are, or at least you can find them online. Ryan, what's your contact info?
My email is ryanm@repcolite.com. And then my cell phone number is 616-566-0080.
616.
566-0080.
All right. Ryan Mullen, sales manager from RepcoLite. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're talking about the world of wallpaper. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Well, Haley, one of the things that I've been struggling with a lot of things. In fact, that's kind of how it rolls for me. I go from one struggle to the next. But one of the things right now is the kids need to redo their bedrooms. They're all eager, like chomping at the bit to redo their bedrooms. So a new color, repaint it, all of these things. And I'm good with that. Once I got over the initial, all the work, okay, I accept it.
Yeah.
Let's get going. They can't pick a color for anything. No. They cannot figure out where they want to go. They're completely stuck. And we've got to get painting because
Yeah.
I've got summer or spring projects that are coming up. I'm not going to have time to be doing this.
Now's the time.
They don't have any ideas. All right, there's my struggle. Put that on hold and move it aside for a second. Now, you and I were talking the other day, trying to come up with, topics for the radio, and you mentioned wallpaper.
I just love the topic. It's coming back into style, whether people want to accept it or not. And there's just so many cool things and possibilities.
Right. So we thought, let's go. It's a great topic. Let's go to the 17th Street store and flip through a bunch of the books just to get an idea.
Right.
And as we're doing that, within just minutes, I was never a wallpaper person. Betsy really pushed wallpaper, and finally I got over that hump, and I started to accept that, it's a cool element in design. But
I think so. I love it.
Going through those books again, I was blown away at just the variety of patterns out
Yeah,
there.
there's something out there for literally everyone.
Literally everyone.
Literally.
So as I'm looking at that, that's what I'm thinking. I just solved another of my problems because of the radio show. My kids need to come and look through the wallpaper, and that is going to help us get a direction.
Definitely.
I know that with all of these different things, they're going to find something. That doesn't mean I have to put wallpaper on the entire room or anything like that.
Exactly.
I'm thinking, and that's what we're going to talk about in the rest of this segment, is some smaller ways to use wallpaper in your design. But in my instance, it's going to be that thing that jumpstarts their imaginations and actually gets us moving.
Right. Gives you a color palette to work with.
So when you flip through the books, because then I sent you back to the store with that mission.
Yes.
You go flip through the books, specifically looking at like kids type stuff. And just what are some of the things that are out there, just so people realize?
I mean, I think the easiest go-to for younger kids is the Disney/Marvel wallpaper book. I mean, there's everything in there from Star Wars to Frozen, and not all of it is just big, gaudy cartoon. Right. You know, there's nice, subtle patterns.
Some of the Marvel
force.
Right. Some of the Marvel stuff is even old school.
Like
60s comic book covers and stuff.
Right.
Very, very cool borders if you want to really simplify. All kinds of stuff like that. But then there's way more. There's geometric
patterns. There's floral patterns.
Huge floral patterns.
Exactly. Entire murals that really could just be these large watercolor kind of flowers. I mean, I wish that I had a young kid to put this in a room. It's so pretty.
It really is. So with all of these patterns, and we're just scraping the surface there, with all of these, why aren't people flocking to wallpaper? Well, I think there's a couple of reasons. First off, there's price. And then there's this perception among some of us that wallpaper is out, no longer in style.
Yeah.
Let's deal with that one first. You know, we remember the 80s. We never want to go back. Well, the wallpaper of today is not like the wallpaper back then.
True, and I wasn't around in the 80s, so I don't have to go back. It's all new for me.
It's all new for you. But it is on trend right now. It's coming back with a vengeance, isn't it?
Definitely.
With a vengeance.
With a vengeance.
Yeah. Wallpaper's back and it's
to
mad.
Sound friendly? I don't know.
It's friendly. It's a friendly vengeance, right? But it's coming into everything.
Definitely.
When we talk to designers, they're all mentioning how wallpaper plays a part of almost every design they put together.
Right.
Every home they're working in, wallpaper plays a role.
And if people aren't using wallpaper, they're trying to recreate it with murals.
Right.
So
there's that obstacle out of the way. It's in style, it's on trend, and there's so much out there you can find and you can work with it. Price. There are inexpensive wallpapers.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, you can find stuff that's not going to break the bank.
I think there are a lot that fall into that kind of expensive range.
Right. At least at first glance,
right.
It's expensive. But the thing is, wallpaper is going to do something that no other design element that I can think of for your walls
and
is
a lot
going
of
to
this
do.
You just can't recreate in a mural. I mean, I think that's the
like
idea.
A hand-painted
right,
mural.
Exactly.
Well,
that
a lot
you
of
can
us
get someone in and paint a mural, and that maybe is less expensive, but I think it ends up being more expensive, actually.
Right.
And you can't get the level of detail or quality that you get from a wallpaper. It's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing. And it's just so interesting because we were talking before we started recording this, just that, okay, so you find a floral pattern with a certain palette of colors in it, but then you find another one. One can be really fun. One can be more traditional.
Yeah,
and that alone. So you've introduced the colors, but now the even the style of it starts to push the room in a certain direction. None of that's going to happen with just paint. Right. Unless you're working with a mural artist or something.
Yeah,
like
and you
that.
already have a clear direction. I think that's the point of the wallpaper too. It can give you that direction.
So a couple of ways to use it in our spaces, you know, in a kid's room or any room really, but we were focused on kids' rooms. Of course, one thing is to just do one wall. That's a great way to bring the price down.
Definitely.
Just pick one wall, put the paper on that, and go from there. Another thing would be those murals.
Oh, yeah.
Again, we're back to one
just
wall.
One wall. And it can be something that ages with you. Not all of this is like super little kid nursery type wallpaper. A lot of it is more sophisticated or simplified enough that it can age really well with people, or even just textures. I mean, that adds a level of fun and creativity to the space that doesn't have to be, and we're talking about, let's clarify, visual textures, not like touch the wall, it feels.
It doesn't have to feel like a hotel hallway, right?
Gross.
There are so many different things. There are shapes and patterns you could cut out and put on the walls. You could even put the paper on the ceiling.
On the ceiling.
But that's a topic for another day. It's a big one.
I mean, it's a big project. I mean, with glow-in-the-dark star wallpaper, how can you not put it on the ceiling?
You'd certainly want to. And we're going to get to that in another episode on another day. But right now, that's all the time we've got. We're going to wrap it up. If you want to check this one out again, you can find it online at RepcoLite.com. And in our show notes this week, we'll put pictures of some of the patterns that you checked out, Haley.
Yeah.
So people can see what we were talking about. And also we'll put a link to all of the different RepcoLite stores that have wallpaper books. 7 of them do, and you can find the one closest to you if you want to peruse the books.
I highly recommend it.
It's a lot of fun. Anyway, that's all we've got. Have a great weekend. I'm Dan Hansen.
And I'm Haley Johnson.
Thanks for listening.